Hello everyone, this is Gage from Gondorian Smith, and as you can tell, we're going to be doing something very different today. This is actually going to be a 2 versus 2, I believe it's called the Spanish Lakeside, the map that we're playing on right now, and it's of course going to be played on Napoleon Total War. I've actually had this game for quite some time. I'm not super great at it, I haven't put a ton of time into it, but I do every once in a while try to get a few games in just in case I get a pretty good replay. And this, in fact, was a very good replay. The victorious team, I won't say who of course, did not have many troops left over at all, so that's always nice to see. Plus I had some nice strategies. It was kind of cool to have this big old mountain here. It led to some very interesting tactics indeed. But again, just like with some of the other things, this is not going to be the main thing I do on my channel. The main thing I will be doing on my channel, of course, is still going to be Third Age Reforged. But this is a really good battle, plus I actually do like this time period as well as this game for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and do some replays of this every once in a while, of course, if the replays are good. Anyway, we can go ahead and go into the army compositions. I've got, well, as you can tell, I'm going to be playing as Austria here today. I've got one unit of Jaegers. They're slightly more ranged than the other light infantry, like these Grenzers here, although they do have fewer men in the unit. The only rules, I believe, were no artillery for anyone, and I think 5 light infantry max. I've also got 4 units here of these Grenzers, very good light infantry with their like kind of skirmish mode on, which makes them kind of crouch down so that the standard line infantry can actually fire over the heads of these guys, which makes them very nice. Also, while these guys do have fewer men in the unit, of course, they do actually have better range than the standard line infantry, though they are substantially worse in melee for the most part. Also, they cannot form squares, so these guys can be very susceptible to cavalry charges. Anyway, so I've got 4 units of them, 1 unit of the Jaegers. I've also got, I believe, 4 units, maybe? Yeah, I think 4 units of the standard Hungarian Fusiliers. Something like that. Just pretty much the standard light infantry. Again, you're going to have to excuse my very, very bad pronunciation of most of these units, but I'm sure it will get better as as we do more of these replays. Yeah, but just pretty standard line infantry, not bad, not super great. Up here I've got my more elite units, like the 1st Regiment of the Emperor's Own. Again, light infantry, same unit, like men in the unit as the standard light infantry, that they have much better stats, though they are, of course, a lot more expensive as well. I've also got a unit of the 47th Regiment, that is also Czech, and I've also got a unit up here of the Archduke Charles Legion, all line infantry, of course. I've also got 3 units of the Hungarian Grenadiers, again, fewer in number than the standard line infantry, but they do have those very handy grenades, and they can also form square. In addition to this, I've got 2 units of the Uhlans, who are very, very low tier cavalry lancers, and I've also got 1 unit of the slightly higher tier Hungarian hussars. And I've only got 3 cavalry, but I'm going to be using them very, very defensively just to protect my main lines, particularly my light infantry. And then, of course, I've got the general staff for my general. Over here we can see my ally is going to be playing as Great Britain. The Great British forces, I believe their standard light infantry is the most accurate out of all of the other factions. But of course they do have their own weaknesses as well. So anyway, we won't actually be able to see the player's name until after this. But anyway, he's got a bunch, I think he's got maybe 3 units of the light foot, basically just like the Grenzer's light infantry. He's got, I believe, 1 unit of the King's German Legion foot, I think 2 units actually of foot guards. So slightly better but more expensive than the standard line infantry. He's got some 88th foot who are Rangers, looks like. He's got some more light foot and some more standard foot as well. More accurate than my own Hungarian Fusiliers, but they are, I believe, a little bit more expensive. He's also got a unit of rifles very similar to Jaegers, and over here he's got some more infantry as well. There's some more hidden in this force, I believe. But he's got some foot and some light foot, as well as his cavalry over here, the 10th Hussars. He's also got the 15th Hussars hidden somewhere around here, as well as some Dragoons and some King's German Legion light Dragoons. So without any further ado, we can go over here to see the other team, which is actually going to be an alliance of the French, 2 French armies here on the field today. And these armies are going to be very similar. This army is going to be a little bit harder to see exactly what he's got because it's kind of all mixed in here. But he's got some Swiss foot, he's got his general staff, he's got some more Swiss foot, he's actually got a lot of Swiss foot, and then in here he's got some Grenadiers of the line as well as some Fusiliers of the line, again just standard line infantry, although the Grenadiers of course are not standard, they have the grenades and such. In here you can see he's got some more Swiss foots, more Grenadiers, some Old Guard, a very, very good unit, the Old Guard, although they are very expensive. I think they cost like 1,200 florins, and you can bring like 3 of them before the price increase. They're both very good at range, and they're extraordinarily good in melee, but again, they are very expensive. He's got some more Fusiliers of the line, and I think he's got actually 4 units of these Lancers here, some pretty decent Lancers, I believe mid-tier, and it looks like that's about it for his army. Over here you can see the next army in columns here, but don't worry, he will be just advancing forward up here to this higher position up here. But anyway, he has got, I believe, maybe just 2 units actually of the Swiss foot, 2 units of the Polish Legion, again, just standard line infantry. He's got some light infantry in here as well. This is the slightly more expensive version, but with better stats to show for it. He's got, I believe, like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 units of these Fusiliers of the line, again, just standard line infantry. And I believe they're slightly worse than both the Swiss and the Polish Legion, but they are actually, I believe, quite a bit cheaper. He also up here, I believe, has 2 or 3 units maybe of the... I know there's 2 or 3 units of the Grenadiers of the line around here somewhere as well. But he's also got up here 1 unit of Old Guard. Back here he's got some Chasseurs. Again, I'm very sorry about the pronunciation of these names. I'm probably doing it very wrong. But anyway, he's also got a unit of Voltigeurs up here for some light infantry. He is actually not bringing any cavalry here to the day. But again, that's to the battlefield here today. But again, that's totally fine because he is actually going to be moving up here with his entire force. So cavalry isn't going to be super useful anyway, even if he did bring it. Then he's also got, of course, the standard general's staff. So without any further ado, we can go ahead and start this off on normal speed. Right away, I did notice this big hill, so of course with this kind of a map, I have played this once before, this map, and just like the time before, I knew that the enemy team is going to probably try to get up here on this hill, because of course, I mean, why wouldn't you? It's a very, very large hill with a lot of potential. I mean, if you could get some good units up here and start firing down, it's going to be very, very useful. So that's why I'm going to be rushing forward here with my own army. You can see I'm going to be rushing forward with some cavalry first, just in case any enemy cavalry decides to show itself. Meanwhile, you can see Great Britain moving forward here as well to meet the French forces, who are also rushing forward here as well. You will be able to see more of their armies, of course, as they approach. You can see some more Fusiliers and a bunch of Swiss foot, so a lot of standard light infantry, but it doesn't look like a ton of light infantry from this first French army. The second one has some Chasseurs and some Voltigeurs, of course, who are light infantry, but the other army does not really have much light infantry, which may prove troublesome in the long run. You can see I'm going to be moving forward with some Jaegers first to go into this little narrow canyon. I'm going to be backing them up with, I believe, the Archduke Charles Legion, so some elite light infantry to kind of hold this narrow pass, while I will also be setting up over here, and you can see I'm going to be getting some support from my ally, who is also moving forward here with some Dragoons and the 15th Hussars there as well. But again, France is also rushing forward here, so they're both going to be going up on this hill, which may prove difficult for me, because as you can see, Great Britain has a large portion of its force down here in the open flat, as well as a pretty significant force over here in this forest. So I'm going to be kind of on my own up here in this hill, at least for the time being, which is why I'm going to be playing rather defensively. You can see my Grenzers on fire at will. Took a volley. Looks like they were trying to hit these Lancers, but unfortunately they actually shot mainly just into this mountain, not going to be able to cause a lot of damage. We got a little bit of cavalry action to the 15th Hussars fighting against these Lancers, and again, I believe the 15th Hussars are not actually Lancers, so as long as the Lancers don't get a nasty charge off on these British cavalrymen, the Hussars will probably win that fight. At least that's what I would assume. I'm not totally positive, but yeah, you can see in here, this little canyon here is going to be is going to be a super brutal fight because of all the trees and shrubbery around here. It's not only going to be a little bit hard to see with the actual camera, but a lot of the bullets, both from my own troops as well as the French forces, will be hitting the trees and not really getting a ton of kills. However, you can see we got some French. We got the elite light infantry over here to match my Jaegers, and they probably will be able to beat my Jaegers eventually. But the thing is, he's not actually making them do. He's not actually using their light infantry behavior. So instead of making them all kind of spread out, almost in loose formation type thing with where they're crouching, he's actually just having them stand straight up in a perfect line. So they're really not being used really how they should be, in all honesty. But still, it shouldn't be bad. And you can see I actually am being supported now by some Great Britain line. I can see the Rangers in there, as well as some foot guards. I've got my light infantry around here. King German's Legion foot around here as well. I can see all of my infantry moving forward here, because you can just look at this horde of French line infantry. Very nice battle ahead of us. You can see that Great Britain is actually trying to go around the French position here, and that could work out very well if he plays it carefully. Because if France decided to, they could just pull off a huge portion of their forces around here and just totally defeat this entire kind of section of the British force, and that would be very bad. You can see Lightfoot trying to shoot uphill, but it's not going to be super effective. Artillery would probably be kind of a fun thing on this kind of a map, But again, it's not, it was against the rules to bring it, so we're not going to be able to see any of that today, but maybe in a future replay. Grenzers getting some nice volleys off here into the Old Guard, and this is definitely a very good target for me. They are line infantry, so they are outranged actually by my light infantry, and a unit this expensive, just kind of standing out here in the open while my light infantry has a very good hill. I'm always going to be firing at this kind of unit because of how really insanely good it is, both in melee and at range. I can see another unit of Old Guard here, some Grenadiers of the line. We actually will get to see some nice grenade throws in here, which will be very cool to see. But yeah, you can see this elite light infantry down to 81 men, whereas my Jaegers are kind of struggling. They're, well, actually not quite. You can see it's they're at 57. Not a ton of casualties on either side, again, mainly because of these trees. A lot of the rounds are really not hitting. You can see I actually moved my Archduke Charles Legion behind this hill here because they were actually taking quite a lot of unnecessary losses in this first kind of skirmishing engagement. Behind there you can see some Voltigeurs who are also firing. A bunch of Grenadiers, Swiss foot. And again, this was a really fun, really chaotic battle. Over here you can actually see that the Swiss foot down to 107 and the light foot are at 86. And again, light foot can do the thing where they crouch and kind of spread out, and if you do that they will take way less casualties. So you really always want to do that, especially because the light foot actually do outrange the Swiss foot. So you always want to be using, you pretty much always want to use the light infantry behavior whenever you can. You can see the Fusiliers, or whatever they're called, of the line here up on this hill. I'm going to be also emptying some volleys into the light foot, who are going to be retreating because of it. We've got the 88th foot over here as well, though. I'm going to provide some nice support. I think I'll go ahead and close this mini-map. It's not really super necessary at this point. But yeah, you can see I've also got my Grenzers. They're down to 69. They are taking casualties, but again, they're really giving it to these Old Guard, who are much more expensive than my Grenzers, so I'm fine with every loss as long as I'm able to take out a good portion of these Old Guard. But you can see they're already down to only 88 men remaining. I'm also being given some support from these Lightfoot from Britain, who are actually in their proper positioning. This 6th light, yeah, the elite light infantry down to 74. And I want to keep an eye on things up here. Jaeger's still at 56. You can see all of my Austrian forces there. And you can see my Hungarian Fusiliers actually able to get some volleys off now into these Old Guard. Very good, getting a few kills there. And here you can see some Lancers actually rushing forward here. Again, the light infantry here that is over here cannot form square. So they can get killed really easily by cavalry. You can see the King's German Legion foot going into square formation. If a unit of cavalry charges into a unit that's in square, the cavalry will just get absolutely destroyed. It's actually kind of funny. It's like an instantaneous counter, and you do have to be aware. There goes the Lancers actually to routing, but you have to be very aware, of course. You have to be able to put them in square in time. But yeah, there go the Lancers. You can see I've got my Uhlans chasing them down there. Taking a few casualties to my Grenzers, but again, not a huge deal. I've got a bunch of infantry back here, so it's not going to be a big deal. Down here looks like, yeah, it looks like you can see Britain, they are definitely on the low ground. They're playing the Anakin Skywalker route here. They've also got, yeah, France on the high ground here, but looks like the accuracy of the extra accuracy of the Great Britain infantry proving to be pretty effective here, taking out a few of those men. Mainly it's because the rifles have the increased range, of course, but you'll see more of that later on. Over here we've got the Voltigeurs again with the fancy light infantry, and here we've actually got the Grenadiers of the line with their fancy grenades. You're going to see some really nice grenade throws from the French team rather. You can see it's a little bit ballsy to be rushing forward here with the Grenadiers of the line straight into some Jaegers, who are down to only 29 men. You can see I've actually got my Archduke Charles Legion here as well. And I'm going to be trying to target down these Grenadiers of the line, but again, because... oh, there goes the grenades! Here we go! We'll try to get in the trees, see the explosions close up. Mainly the grenades do a lot of damage in terms of morale, but they really don't get a ton of kills in all honesty. However, you can see I'm going to be trying to target down those Grenadiers of the line, but again, because of all the trees here, I'm really not getting enough kills to really stop the grenades from coming. You can see the Voltigeurs are also marching forward here, and there goes another volley, this time straight into my Archduke Charles Legion. And again, they're now down to only 82 men remaining. And again, normally this, with the Grenadiers rushing forward like this, it would be an easy victory for my men, but because of all these trees blocking all those bullets, it's proving very difficult. You can see I got my Uhlans in here trying to get a charge off, trying to save some of my Jaegers. They're pretty much gone at this point. But again, I'm also trying to get into the Voltigeurs who cannot form square. Here comes the elite light infantry again. There go my Jaegers to routing. You can see Great Britain has got his Dragoons over there as well. And Fusiliers of the line down to 102. Old Guard at 120. I don't know what happened to the other unit of Old Guard, I believe. It really took a ton of losses, so it's not going to be super important or very effective later on in the battle, which is going to be very good for us. You can see the British light infantry thinking about routing. They've taken a ton of losses, and their morale is not really looking super great. But over here, the fight still continues. You can see the Dragoons are still in here. Grenadiers have lined down to only 40 men. The light infantry still at 56, and the Voltigeurs, I believe, are still in here as well, down to 32. And again, I'm trying to get my volleys off wherever I can, but again, because of all these trees, my poor Archduke Charles Legion not doing super well. But I don't really want to charge them forward quite yet with all these infantry here. There goes the Grenadiers of the line to routing. They were about to throw their bombs, but unfortunately we're not able to get them off. And now the light infantry will be able to retreat as a unit of Swissfoot advances to cover their retreat from the cavalry. You can see the Swissfoot going into square formation here, going to be able to stop the Dragoons from going any further. Meanwhile, again, Great Britain really trying to wrap around the entire French force, and that's a really good idea. But again, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be an uphill fight for him. But as long as his forces over here, as well as my own forces, will be able to hold, if they're able to hold, that is, it may prove very effective to kind of wrap around this entire French position here, the very defensive position that the French are taking. And again, you can see the Lightfoot moving forward here. Their superior range of over the Fusiliers of the line, really proving important here. Getting some nice, actually, volleys just straight down this entire line, inflicting a ton of casualties on these French line infantry. Yeah, looks like so far the French players are being very static, very defensive. They're really not taking they're really not trying to push that much, which is probably gonna not be super great for them. You can see my Grenzers are taking some fire from now the chasseurs, or whatever they're called. These are light infantry, so they have pretty good range, same with the Voltigeurs, or technically rifles, I believe. But I'm trying to target down these Old Guard, who you can see are already about 20-25 men now short of what they originally are. Because again, I'm trying to snipe the important units like the Old Guard down before they're able to cause too much damage. And this that's going on right here, I'll pause it for just a second. Those of you who, of course, our Napoleon Total War veterans will know, of course, this is a very common move here, where you've got the light infantry in front and then the line infantry behind, because the line infantry will actually be able to fire over the heads of the light infantry, and the light infantry will be able to take the volleys from the enemies more effectively, like with fewer casualties than the standard line infantry, while the line infantry will actually be able to deal a lot of the damage. So this is going to be a very common tactic that you see all the time whenever you play Napoleon Total War or whenever you watch replays. Again, over here we've got my Grenzers now. Commit another light infantry over here to try to target down the rest of these units. Grenadiers of the line retreating, so I believe they just got off a volley of grenades. I was going to try to chase them down with my cavalry, but wasn't very effective, unfortunately. Archduke Charles Legion down to 67 men remaining out of 120. Swissfoot at 117, so the Swissfoot doing pretty well in terms of health. And here come the Grenadiers of the line. Again, these guys were very problematic for me throughout the entire replay, or throughout the entire battle, rather. Because he just kept rushing them forward here with the grenades, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to really do much about it because of all the trees here. I wasn't able to get good volleys off on them. And you can see the grenades going straight into my poor line, and oh boy, that's not good at all. But yeah, still very cool. Meanwhile, the Old Guard still taking a lot of losses to my light infantry, who are getting a little bit shaky in terms of morale, but they have gained a chevron from getting their kills. I believe also my Archduke Charles Legion has also earned a chevron, because I did not give any chevrons to anyone because I didn't have enough money for it. Although, here comes, again, another unit of these Grenadiers of the line once again to try to rush towards me. Again, I'm not very experienced in Napoleon Total War, so I didn't really know how to deal with this other than just kind of trying to take it on the chin and trying to get some volleys off wherever I could. But again, because of all these trees, it was really difficult. And there goes another grenade volley somewhere in here. Just wait any second, they'll probably go off. Oh, yep, they just landed my Grenzers. I just saw them. There they go again. And again, you can see they're only killing about 5 or 6 men per volley of those grenades, so it's not super damaging. But again, it just slowly whittles my troops down, especially because it has a very nasty effect on the morale. Over here, my Grenzers have actually routed, so I will be pushing forward my other unit of them pretty shortly here. Meanwhile, you can see Britain rushing forward here on the kind of lower part of the hill. He's got some light foot as well as the 88th foot around here. Going to be able to definitely beat these Fusiliers of the line. Not going to be a match for the British line infantry. But there are a bunch of, French forces around here to help out should the need arise. Especially with these volleys coming in from the flanks. This unit of Fusiliers of the line, you can see, is just getting absolutely shredded right now. Able to get a pretty decent volley off right there. On the 88th foot, and there are some more advancing forces who try to help out, probably trying to target down these units down here that are shooting at the flanks of their unit. But this unit of Fusiliers of the line getting totally shredded. You can see I've committed this unit of Grenzers up here. Again, going to be trying to snipe out the old guard, just trying to pick off the important units with the with my own units that have very good range. But there are some Fusiliers of the line kind of advancing here, so I have to be a little bit careful. But again, you can see these old guard taking a ton of losses to my light infantry, and that's very good for me. Meanwhile, we've still got the Swiss foot now down to 94. Unfortunately, my Archduke's Legion, I believe, is just about out of ammo at this time. Yeah, I think they just ran out of ammo. And I believe my Grenzers over here that actually routed, unfortunately. So not looking super great up here in this cannon, although down here things are looking pretty decent. You can see Britain is taking some losses, but they're doing really well for themselves so far. They're killing a lot of the French forces around here. And the French, of course, have a ton of infantry. They don't have a bunch of cavalry, but still going to be difficult. Although, just as I speak of it, here come the Lancers of France. I believe the second or third unit, maybe? I think it's just the second unit. Rushing over here, and again, I'm going to try to run my Grenzers out of here as quickly as possible. Again, they cannot form square, so they're very susceptible to cav charges. So I'm going to try to get behind the foot guards and the King German's Legion foot, so the cavalry will get taken out. I'm also going to be rushing forward my Uhlans here to try to stop the French Lancers. You can see my Grenzers getting close to routing, but we're able to regain their morale, thankfully. And they did take a few losses, but not a bunch, so it's not a huge deal. Although you can see the Fusiliers of the line and some more line infantry rushing forward here from France. Meanwhile, the 15th Hussars charging straight into the Swiss foot, maybe going to rout them. They aren't forming squares, so they are going to be taking quite a few losses. Oh, just look at all the French bodies here. Really nice play there from Great Britain, getting all those really nice angles on the French. Although again, there's still a lot of units all over here on this hill, which is why I'm going to be committing of my own Hungarian Fusiliers around here. I'm going to be trying to target down some of these Fusiliers of the line. Fusiliers. Is it Fusiliers? I think it's Fusiliers. I have no idea. Again, I'm very sorry about that. I'm probably butchering all the names. I feel like it's Fusiliers. I'm like almost positive, but I've been calling them something else the entire time. So again, I do apologize about that. But anyway, I've got my final unit of Grenzers over here. The other one's over there, and I guess it's technically my second to last unit of Grenzers. Again, trying to target down these units in the forest. They've got superior range over the Swiss foot. Again, here comes the Grenadiers of the damn line. With their grenades actually being very effective at taking out my light infantry. That is not something I want. Which is why I've got some. Which is why I've got my elite line infantry over here. I've got my first regiment of the Emperor's own line infantry kind of on the flank here. Going to be able to get some nice flanking fire. Actually going to be enough to rout that unit of Grenadiers of the line. Here's some old guard though, very elite unit. So thankfully able to rout that unit before they threw their bombs. Then over here on this other side I've got my other elite unit, that being the 47th Regiment, which is Czech. And I've also got some Hungarian Fusiliers. I'm pretty sure it's Fusiliers over here. Staying pretty close, just about behind the Grenzers there. Meanwhile, over here you can see my Grenzers taking a lot of fire now from the Voltigeurs and the Old Guard, who are down to 46. And you can see my general's actually getting kind of shot at a little bit, but he isn't under too much trouble. You can see there's actually some Lancers over here, but they're not going to be too much of a big deal because there's only 15 of them left. Yeah, over here you can see a lot of the Great Britain infantry shooting right into the flanks of these French forces, and pretty shortly we'll be able to advance up this hill here and start attacking the flank of the French forces. In the forest here, we've got some Grenadiers of the line, if you can see them slightly, as well as some Young Guard. Slightly worse than the Old Guard, but they're not much worse, and they're a little bit cheaper as well. They've also got the Old Guard, some Chasseurs, and then I was actually able to charge in with my Uhlans into the Voltigeurs, because again, the light infantry, like the Voltigeurs, cannot form squares. They're very susceptible to cavalry. You're gonna have to pull out them probably pretty quickly here though, because the Voltigeurs are doing pretty well. Same with the especially with this advance of the chasseurs. I'm going to have to be pretty careful here with my cav, especially because this cavalry unit is the lowest tier that Austria can bring. I was thankfully able to rout those Voltigeurs, though, so it pretty much did pay off. Kind of. I believe they cost about the same, that cavalry unit and the Voltigeurs. Over here in the center, we've still got the Swiss foot, down to 34 now. I'm also trying to take out these Old Guard again. They're very, very good, so I'm trying to kill them off as quickly as possible. Down to 77. Here comes some more Lancers, though. Only 7 of them remaining, as well as some more Voltigeurs back there. Yeah, we've got the Lightfoot of Great Britain again. Great Britain slowly but surely pushing his way up this hill. Doing surprisingly well. Sorry. Just considering he is fighting uphill, he's doing very, very well for himself. You can see these Fusiliers of the line. There's more Chasseurs over here, and again another unit of Fusiliers of the line. See, I've got my own infantry in the fight now as well. Get the Hungarian Fusiliers, some more Hungarian Fusiliers, and some more Hungarian Fusiliers. I'm going to try to get this one on kind of an angle so I can fire at this kind of whole line. This first unit of Hungarian Fusiliers is doing decent. Alright, so unfortunately we did have a crash there, but we are just about where we need to be. You can see my Hungarian Fusiliers not doing super hot. You can see my third unit of them actually getting on a nice angle here. Going to be able to return fire into the Young Guard and the Chasseurs as well as the Fusiliers of the line. I'm going to put it back to normal speed though for now. You can see the Young Guard.
Our men are running, sir.
Oh, there we go. I was wondering, I was like, where's the audio? It sounds a little bit weird. Well, more of the lack of the sound was a little bit weird. There goes my first unit of Hungarian Fusiliers. You can see I'm going to be pushing forward now with my second. I've got 4 of them in total. You can see a lot of their dead bodies here. One of my favorite things about Napoleon Total War is... Oh, nice log out from my Hungarian Fusiliers. Yeah, is all the bodies. I mean, it's a little bit morbid, but it is kind of cool to see all of, just the total carnage of the entire battle. It's kind of nice. You can see a unit of the, I believe they made the final unit actually of Lancers from France here. Going to be able to charge down here into maybe my infantry, which I've gone into square formation here. But there are some King's German Legion light dragoons here to kind of help out against this cavalry. Unfortunately, I was not really able to get this unit of Fusiliers into square formation, so they are going to take some losses. And wow, is it just me or is music a little bit loud? I'm going to go ahead and turn that down because that is... Oh, crap. So that was why. Unfortunately, it looked like it did not save what I had the overall set, what I had my previous settings at. But it looks about where it used to be, so we'll go ahead and just put it back to where we'll just resume the battle. Anyway, yeah, you can see my Hungarian Fusiliers not doing super hot. They are taking some casualties again because they were not able to get into square formation. They're going to take an unfortunate amount of casualties. You can see the French forces pushing forward here. Fusiliers of the line, Young Guard behind, as well as some Chasseurs. Again, I'm very sorry about the pronunciations. I don't speak French. I don't speak, German, whatever. So again, most of these unit names I am going to put here. Still though, the Lancers here going to actually think about routing here. They're not really doing super hot, just like my Fusiliers. This unit again going to get some nice volleys off and actually going to be able to route that unit of Lancers. Up here we've got the Dragoons charging into the Grenadiers of the line actually enough to rout that unit there, so that's very good. You can see the British infantry. They've taken a lot of losses. This is basically all they've got left in terms of infantry. They've got the units that are firing here, and they've got 3 units of reserve in the back, as well as a good bit of cavalry. And again, France has also taken a bunch of casualties. Pretty much everyone has taken a lot of casualties. I believe this is my maybe final unit of Grenzers, my last unit of line infantry or light infantry. I was trying to get forward here and try to get some more volleys off into the Old Guard, but unfortunately I'm taking some unfortunate volleys from the light infantry, Voltigeurs, as well as the Old Guard. I believe also my... What was there? It was like something about Charles, like the Charles. That unit is also taken out. The elite unit that was over here that actually got a chevron, I believe that one was also killed off and routed off the field. Anyway, up here you can see the light dragoons actually rushing forward here, as well as the British line infantry, the foot. Going to push forward here, where you can see that the French position is looking a little bit weak. And with the advance of the cavalry, you can see that they have actually forced the Fusiliers of the line as well as the Young Guard to go into square formation. And a unit of infantry like this in square formation will take more casualties when fighting against, you know, like when in an actual skirmish fight against some standard line infantry. So it's actually a good play here. It's actually a very good play to kind of like menace the infantry, like you're going to go in for a charge and force your enemy to go into square, and then just pull back with your cavalry and let your infantry shoot at them, because if you do that, the enemy foot will take a lot of casualties. Yeah, over here you can see the French line's looking pretty thin. Again, I should mention that also I am taking a ton of losses as well. You can see both of these units not doing super well, but they're doing pretty well in return. They're giving it to the Young Guard. The Young Guard very elite, but they are starting to go down a little bit. Also, I should mention that unlike Empire Total War, where every rank will fire in a unit, like the first one will fire, then kneel down, and then allow the second one to fire, and the third, fourth, and whatever. In Napoleon Total War, only the first rank of infantry will fire, which is why you can see these guys in front firing, whereas these guys in the back aren't actually firing. They'll only fire if you spread them out all the way into, like, of course, like one single line, or if like the guy in front of them dies, then they'll start firing, of course. Meanwhile, over here, again, my Grenzers, and again, the Old Guard actually rushing forward here, down to only 61. They are taking some losses now to my 47th Regiment. I'm also trying to get some charges in here, my Hungarian Hussars. Over here you can see my Hungarian Fusiliers out of ammo. Gonna try to give the bayonet here to the Young Guard. Unfortunately for me, though, the Young Guard have way better stats than my own men. They also have better morale, so my men just kind of charged in there and then instantly died. They were able to get a decent amount of kills, and actually it's going to force this Young Guard to charge into my Emperor's own regiment as well as these Hungarian Fusiliers, so this Young Guard is taking a lot of casualties just from point-blank volleys here. Meanwhile, I've also got the King's German Legion foot in here, unfortunately routing after fighting the Fusiliers of the line. Dragoon's going to get a charge off maybe, halfway. And again, I'm sorry about the audio. Things are going to be a little bit buggy because, again, this is the first replay, so things are going to be a little bit weird probably, at least in the beginning. You can see a little bit of a charge here, the light infantry rushing forward here, and kind of a blob, so they're going to take a lot of casualties. Old Guard in here as well, down to 42 men remaining, and my 47th Regiment is pretty elite, so they're going to be able to get a pretty decent amount of kills. Unfortunately, over here, I've my 1st Regiment Emperor's Own actually has run out of ammo, I believe. Although you can see maybe 1 or 2 still reloading. It's a little funny because, I mean, this is the unit that's out of ammo. But yeah, you can see Britain pushing forward here, pushing through these very, very weakened French defenses. But again, he doesn't have much left. I mean, this is basically all he's got in this kind of one little area. He does have some cavalry, but not much. He's used a lot of it up. But again, everyone's looking pretty weak at this point. I've still got a decent amount of troops left, but everyone's looking pretty weak. You can see there's still some reserves back here, some Swiss foot, as well as some Fusiliers of the line. There's also some hidden units in the trees here, like that Polish Legion, completely healthy pretty much. Again, we are starting to get a little bit of the upper hand in this battle here, so we are going to be pushing forward here. I got my Fusiliers backing up some foot from Great Britain, as well as some foot guards. And again, the British line infantry, for the most part, I believe, for the most part, has better accuracy than most every other line infantry in the game that is not, you know, like elite, or like a rifle or something. So, most of the time, the British line infantry will do very, very good in a prolonged skirmish. But I don't know if they're super great in melee. Also, you can see we're going to get a little bit of glorious melee action here. We got my 1st Regiment of the Emperor's Own charging in here against some Old Guard. And while I do outnumber the Old Guard slightly, there goes a chevron for both of these units actually. While I do outnumber the Old Guard are just so good in melee. You can see my own unit is actually starting to take a ton of casualties. We're actually going to think about routing, which is why I'm going to have to commit maybe this unit of the 47th Regiment. Actually, you can see my own regiment actually routed there. Old Guard at 23, and there goes them as well. They just routed after a point-blank volley from my Czech regiment. Here comes some Polish Legion, though, completely healthy, in a fight against my 81 47th Czech regiment. The Polish Legion aren't super good, whereas my 47th are actually pretty darn elite and very expensive. You can see, again, some nice melee action here in the trees. And wow, is it loud. I hope you can even hear me. I have no idea if you can hear me at all. 65 47th Czech, 91 of the Polish Legion. So some nice melee action here in the trees. Going to be very nice. Always very nice to see. Just like, unfortunately, a lot of my men are facing the wrong way. But yeah, a whole lot of nastiness, a lot of bayonets being given here back and forth, of course. going to be a brutal, brutal fight. And not one that I would really be confident in winning, except for the fact that you can see the Polish Legion actually have pretty poor morale. So I'm down to 45 men in that unit, and the Polish Legion actually is down to 67. So if they stayed in that, they might have won as long as they didn't rout. But again, I've still got units back here that could have supported if need be. You can see I've still got my Hungarian Grenadiers, who apparently are the best Grenadiers in the world, at least according to the description of the unit, of course. Over here, though, things are taking a little bit longer to sort out, again, mainly because of the fact that we are pretty weak, but I mean, they're weak as well. They don't have a ton left over, but neither do we, so we have to be very careful about what we're doing. Over here you can see that the routing French units have been mercilessly chased down and slaughtered by the 10th Hussars, and ensure that none of those units return to the French lines. Fusiliers of the line, as well as the general staff back here, some more general staff. And yeah, things are looking really, really brutal. Polish Legion at 63, there's Swiss foot in here, and another unit of completely healthy Swiss foot. I've actually pushed forward here a unit of my Hungarian Fusiliers to try to skirmish down some of these units over here, but we are very outnumbered. So I'm just going to try to outlast them and deal as much damage as possible. We've got some more hidden units in here. It looks like general staff as well as some foot. And yeah, the skirmishing just pretty much continues. Very, very brutal fight so far. Really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys do as well. Polish Legion, very healthy at 119. Swiss foot not looking super great, but I mean, they're doing decent. I mean, they're doing halfway decent. Again, Hungarian Grenadiers, they are pretty low in number, but they have pretty decent stats, and as well, of course, those grenades. But I find it rather difficult sometimes to use the grenades because you kind of have to rush super, super up close, which makes, pretty much ensures that you're going to take a bunch of brutal volleys on the advance. So I kind of only use them kind of like when the opportunity suggests itself, like if I'm kind of close by, or maybe before a bayonet charge or something like that. But mainly I take these guys because they actually do have some pretty decent stats for skirmishing, so they're not bad at all as a skirmishing force. I've also got my Hungarian Hussars. This is my only cavalry unit left. There's only 19 of them left. I decided to go ahead and charge them into the Polish Legion because they were looking pretty weak in terms of morale. But they did form square, so I did take some losses, and now I only have, I believe, yeah, 19 of them left. And again, my Fusiliers trying to do their best over here. Doing pretty nicely against the Polish Legion, but again, there are still some Swiss foot and some more Swiss foot as well back there, so still a lot of French forces around here. The British foot actually forming square now as the general's staff of one of the French players charged down, unfortunately routing though, so that will be the end of one of the French generals. So if he has any infantry left over, I don't know if he does, because you can't actually see the players' names. If he has any infantry left over, it's going to be routing very, very easily. Actually, that might have been that unit right there. Might have been his. But again, we've still got some more Fusiliers of the line. You can see we're actually the unit over here. So France is on its last legs, although so is Britain. Britain does not have a ton left over, and I don't even have great numbers either. I've got the 47th Czech. They don't have any ammo left over, I believe. They did gain themselves a chevron. I've got those Hussars, and I've got a decent amount of Grenadiers left over. But again, I'm still not super confident in this, because after playing a decent amount of these matches, things can turn around very, very quickly. Although this won't prevent me, of course, from doing a very stupid mistake here, just rushing forward here with my Hungarian Grenadiers who are out of ammo. I was going to try to get them to get a grenade volley off, but unfortunately we're having a little bit of issues. And again, they're going to be rushing forward here, as well as getting some volleys off into the Fusiliers of the line. Not a super great infantry unit. I believe it is the lowest tier standard line infantry that isn't a militia unit, so they're not going to be doing super great. Especially with some foot guards and foot of Britain coming over here as well. You can see I actually charged forward my Hungarian Fusiliers in melee because they're out of ammo. They're going to charge straight into those Swiss foot. I only have 44 of them, so they're going to be very, very outnumbered, which is why I'm going to be committing my 47th Czech regiment in here as well. And there goes a chevron as well to my Hungarian Fusiliers, but they're very outnumbered, so they actually may end up routing, which is why I'm committing this unit of 47th Czech. I've also got some more units coming here. These are my last two standard line infantry units, so all I've got is the infantry in there, these two units of Grenadiers, as well as my Hussars, and then of course my General. That's all I've got left, so I don't have a bunch left. You can see the last of the Great Britain forces rushing forward here, going to be able to run straight into melee here with these Fusiliers of the line. And again, this is all the Great Britain has left. We don't have much left over at all, so we're basically just doing a final charge, and this will be the last stand of the French. You can see my Hungarian Hussars able to get around the flank here, going to maybe get some charges off in these retreating Swiss foot, as well as maybe I was going to try to get them to charge into General Staff, so they actually earned themselves a chevron there. And over here, I believe my Hungarian Fusiliers were routed, but I've still got my Grenadiers as well as that Czech regiment in here as well, dealing with the last of this unit of Swiss foot. They're still at 83 though, so I mean they've got a decent amount of numbers left over. And these Great British forces not doing super great in melee. Some people actually think about routing, but then just like that, the tables have kind of turned. This would be pretty much the last stand. You can see the general staff running away. I will be giving chase with my Hungarian Hussars pretty shortly here, and this is going to be just about it for the French forces. Again, very close battle. There are not going to be many returning to Austria, Great Britain, or France. Not many survivors, and again, very close, very fun battle. And there go the Swiss foot, the last infantry, or rather line infantry of the French. And now all that is left to defeat is this unit of general staff, which who are now going to be getting charged by my Hungarian Hussars, who were speeding along the grassy plain here to try to charge into the general staff. We'll be able to see one last glorious charge here right at the very end of the replay. But again, a very close battle throughout the entire time. You can see, oh, gonna get a nice charge off. General staff had to turn around a little bit, but yeah, getting a nice charge off. I believe that's the general right there. Actually, the unit actually routed. We'll see if the general gets cut down or not. And yep, there he goes. So that's going to be the end of this replay. I hope you guys did enjoy it. It was pretty close. You can see GSopper29 was the Great Britain player. We got Payox as one of the French players, and then ABB_V. The most kills went to Great Britain with 1,617. I was kind of far behind with 1,200, and then not far behind me was the French player with 1,000. And then the last French player got 800, so not bad. We'll take a quick look here at these kills. The 1st Regiment of the Emperor's Own got a chevron, but they only had 64 kills. It's not super great. Meanwhile, whoa, the 47th Czech got 166 kills. That is not bad at all. The Archduke Charles Legion also doing well, getting 131 kills. General Staff getting 0 kills, again, that's unsurprising. Grenzers, 1 unit getting 17, 1 unit getting 30, but 70 and 97 isn't bad. Some of my Fusiliers actually did really good, 123, 135. The other's not so great, neither did my Hungarian Grenadiers didn't do super great, but I mean, they did their job, I guess. Cavalry did okay, Jaegers kind of got wrecked, and then we've also got the Hussars getting 41 kills. But that'll pretty much be the end of this video. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you did. If you did not, just tell me what I did wrong. I'll be sure to fix it for the next one. Again, go ahead and feel free to correct me on any of my mistakes in terms of actual pronunciations. I would be happy to learn how you actually do say it. But again, I hope you guys did enjoy it. But that'll be the end of this video. So farewell wherever you fare, till your eyes receive you at your journey's end.